With announcements about fiber expansions just filling up the newsprint, it seems like every day, it seems like a good time to catch up with a local service provider that has been doing this kind of expansion for a long time. Horizon, it was founded in 1895 as the local telephone provider in Chillicothe, Ohio. And over the decades, they've been an innovator. I've known them since the VDSL days a couple decades ago. And they have expanded beyond that innovative platform, which was very innovative at the time, bringing video and telephone and broadband together. So today we're going to talk to Misty Tuttle and Jim Capuano about their latest fiber to the home expansions. And Jim and Misty, welcome to VOD TV. And I apologize, Jim, if I mispronounced your name. But before we talk about what you're doing in terms of expanding with fiber to the home, why don't you tell us a little bit about Horizon, its background, and how you got to be this enabler of new technologies?
Well, Ken, thank you for having us. I mean, this is it's always fun to talk about the business. I do have to correct you on one thing, though. You are right. We were founded in 1895, but we were actually the second local telephone company in that market at the time. So there were two competing businesses, and we actually won out when it was all said and done. So yeah, it's an interesting tidbit, but they were competing with the Bell Company back then as well. So
that's fascinating. I did not realize that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty. So I guess the business, we're growing gangbusters right now. It's an exciting time for us. And we kind of have three divisions of the business right now that are operating. Our network partners is our enterprise fiber business that uses the BTOP network that we built. Probably similar time frame that 2012 time frame that you were mentioning. But also our the original ILEC. Like I said, we've been around since 1895. We continue to change the business to meet the times and the needs, if you will. Whether it was finding a creative way to use copper to deliver video services and broadband, or at least higher speeds of internet. But now we're excited because we're deploying fiber in our footprint, including fiber to the home. And when you look at what that really means to our business, it's pretty simple. We now have a product that is better than our competition in our market. We can compete head to head with the cable cos with a superior product, which as when we're using copper, it's far more difficult to compete with the HFCs and out there. But now we kind of feel like we have the upper hand, and we're pretty excited about expanding our business again.
And geographically, it's an expansion, right? It's outside of the home market, your original footprint. Is that correct?
Yeah. The original ILEC territory is Ross County. We're deepening our fiber footprint there as well. We're overbuilding a lot of our existing network with fiber. But we've also launched additional fiber to the home markets outside of the ILEC territory. So Circleville is the most recent one that we built, and we're providing services today. But we have three additional markets and more to come. And actually, Misty, if you want to jump on the what we're doing on that front, I'll pitch the baton to you.
Yeah. So we completed the build in Circleville, Ohio, and we're currently entering into the construction phase in Greenfield, Washington Courthouse, in Lancaster, Ohio. So both markets in the south central region of Ohio. So we're excited to be in those communities.
It's ironic. It's a Greenfield in Greenfield, if you will.
Ken, I think they tortured me by picking that one because I have to always say, wait, Greenfield. Well, not Greenfield, but a Greenfield.
Well, and these are all relatively rural communities, right? And so one of the questions I have is just, if you had tried to do something like this with copper, 20 years ago or something, would it be possible from an operational standpoint? What difference does fiber make from that standpoint?
Yeah, no, that's a good take. Honestly, it would have been financially difficult to say the least to do it with a copper plant. The fiber plant obviously changes a lot of things from, future proofing as well. So we mentioned that our product offerings today are, we can do a symmetrical gigabit, as one of our service offerings. And we have tiers below that, but the ability to offer a full gig symmetrically is a big deal. But the reality is the plant is actually capable of doing far more than that. So today we actually could do 10 gigs symmetrically today, and with simple swap out of a small the NID at the home and the optic in the field, we could go to 100 gigs. So Ken, when you're ready for 100 gig service, we'll be ready for it as well.
I'm getting close. I would imagine too, from an operational standpoint, the fact that you really just have two endpoints. I oversimplify, but it's a lot. It seems like that would be a big advantage too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, dedicating the connectivity like that changes a lot. We're obviously trying to stay away from a shared model, provide a higher quality of product. So more of a dedicated internet type of product. But as we continue to expand through, that the uplink, for example, there's been a lot of talk about whether that's just marketing spin or if it's really, the symmetrical really matter. It absolutely matters. There's, and especially, when we're dealing with, being able to work from home or do a conference like this, that up channel is as critical as the down channel. But also, as we continue to stretch the technology, whether it's Internet of Things or, a multitude of other things that are to come, that uplink will be more and more critical. But, to your original question, we obviously wouldn't have been able to deploy it with copper. And I think that, the economics of the deployment have changed too, building the networks. And, there's a lot of private money in this. There's a lot of talk about the federal money and the state money that are coming into these. Right now, we're not spending federal or state money on any of this. This is all private money. This is money that we've been able to raise through investors to build out these networks. So, 5 years ago, if it would have been very, very difficult to do that. The investment community's changed as well.
And that's incredible. So what sort of penetration rate do you look for a project to kind of, be positive, if you will?
Yeah, I guess, from an investor perspective, the rule of thumb, and it's kind of comical because, the metrics we all measure them a little bit different too, so it's difficult to get apples and apples. But I would say, in many of these markets, we're an overbuilder. So we would be the third player, if you will. So, kind of basic math is, you would expect to get fair market value, which would be a third of the market. And then obviously we want to win more than our fair share, if you will. So, the 40% number is a kind of a, the rule of thumb, but, there's no limitations to that too, right? So it really depends market to market as to what you can actually achieve.
I guess you have the advantage of coming in with a new network, which is really helpful, I'd imagine. And I'm kind of curious then, from a local municipality perspective, how have they been embracing you as far as,
right,
helping you to get into the market or hindering you, however, it's working?
Yeah. Misty, do you want to take this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the first steps that we've built into our project plan is to get their involvement. So, we instantly reach out to the local municipalities, get all of the key players involved, get them excited about the project, because we need their help, from a local marketing kind of stance, as well as just get their buy-in, excitement about bringing fiber and what that means to their community. All of them have been extremely receptive. All are very interested in bringing these types of services to the communities that, that they know and love. I mean, many of these people have been lifelong residents of these smaller rural towns in Ohio, and they're excited to have us come in. So,
is it difficult, establishing your brand, or, do they know you already a little bit, or, is that a challenge?
Yeah, well, it has been challenging because, we kind of, they all surround Ross County, which is our traditional ILEC area. And we've been here for so many years, but, they've never heard of us. So we've got to tell our story. And so, we go in with our local customer support and that local hometown kind of feel, serving these communities that are just outside of our traditional territory.
Right.
Well, that's interesting when you talk about local customer support. Does that mean support? Do you actually put people in those towns, or?
Well, I mean, we do have people in those towns during like the construction phase. So each community gets their own project manager. So it's that point person for all of our contractors, but also for the cities that are involved. We have boots on the ground when it comes to door-to-door sales. We participate in local events. So we're very present in the communities.
Right. And
I want to talk. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I would just add to that, obviously, from an operations perspective, installs and continuing support are all local people. So, that to keep that local feel, obviously it's important to have people that are from the community involved in the company as well.
I want to talk about the community support in a moment, but first, I noticed you also seem to do some crowdfunding type approach in terms of where you deploy and so forth. Did I get that right? Or
so, well, you know what, Misty, let me try. So I think it's interesting, like if you step back and look at the bigger picture as to what how we got to the markets we're looking at. These are all markets that are contiguous to our existing fiber networks. So our middle mile network or our long haul network. So these are all, markets that bump up against those. So, the selection process, Misty nailed it on the point about working with the local municipalities, making sure that, there is excitement around, having somebody come in and work with them. And, we obviously, it's very unlikely that you're going to get a municipality say that, no, we're not interested in having another, broadband provider here to provide a great product. But then, once we get into that, then we kind of get into the boots on the ground piece. And that's the part that I would say, Misty, you probably can share more about what we do once we pick the town, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like we want to make a commitment to the communities just like we've had for 127 years here in the Chillicothe market, and in these smaller rural communities, that means things like sponsoring, local sporting events for local high schools and, things like that. So we make sure that we are in all of the spots, we're meeting with local Rotaries, the Chamber of Commerce, all of those, rural channels that exist there. So, I mean, we're active in all of those communities. In Circleville High School, we actually got in at a really good time, and they have named their gymnasium after us.
That's cool.
Our signage all over. I called for just a billboard, and here's where we landed. But they're excited to have us, and we're excited to be there. So we're just going to continue to do what we've always done in our traditional area in these new communities.
Right.
Well, I remember, I think I've, first heard you. I think weren't you the voice of some of the local content back in the early 2000s?
Yes. Back in in 2000, we launched a local television channel here in the Ross County market, and I got picked. So.
Well, that's, I think that local channel to me, I had a chance to visit the studio. I think it was in 2006. And one of the things that impressed me was that you guys had used a building downtown, renovated it, and you were doing such clever things to bring in the community to do that local content.
Yeah, no, people really liked it. It got a little hard to maintain, and now there are so many social channels. The TV world has kind of changed. So, what we try to do to kind of emulate that is we look for those social influencers in these communities. So, each of these communities has, that guy or that group or, the local radio guys who have now shifted to a YouTube TV channel. And so we look and seek out those kinds of influencers, if you would, in these communities to help us spread the word.
Wow, that's brilliant. And that works. I do find any one channel, whether it be YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or whatever, works better than another, or is it all over the map kind of?
Yeah, the majority of these guys do all. So, they are on all social feeds. And so, again, so we just kind of scour. We look to see who people in the community are going to for their news and information. and who they trust. You know, there's lots of local podcasts also in the areas. So we've sponsored a couple of local podcasts, you know, and these are just regular guys telling the story about, you know, the places that they live in their hometowns. So it's worked out well.
That's brilliant. And it leverages what you can do with your, the folks you have, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's great. I mean, this is exciting news, exciting how you're going about this. And I really appreciate this brief conversation today and look forward to actually going out there again someday.
We'd like to have you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.